Hello everybody, and no, your eyes aren't deceiving you. We are in fact back with another Thursday Championship here at RCI. This time round is a bit of a twist. We've got a field of GT4 cars, and honestly, I'm not sure whose brainchild it was, but they're joined by a pack of Porsche GT3 Cups apparently. So, in much in the same way as I'm joined by Christian on the broadcast, and we've stolen Phil Roberts from the stewarding box to join me here on CoComm. So, well, I'm Austin Devonshire, and well, Phil, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. It's been a bit of a slow day, to be honest, but not too bad. It's been down the track. We've been down track side for a bit of practice. It's a little bit cloudy, but it doesn't look like we're going to be threatened with any rain today. I mean, mentioned before about this being a brainchild of someone, obviously Tom Bryant, man who runs Thursday Champ. But I think, to be honest, we shouldn't see that much in the way of like what do you call it, like speed differentials between the cars. I mean, they are obviously a lot faster, these Cup cars, but because they lack the amount of aero GT3 does, they'll probably go through some of these faster corners the same way these GT4 cars do. But we'll see. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes. Same, obviously the speed difference on the straight is going to be where these Porsche cars do actually make up the time. And looking at the and essentially, if you're wondering what the pace is like in terms of the pace, looking at the leaderboard here, you've got Dauber in the GT3 Cup with a 143.5, which is a decent gap ahead of the, well, if you look at Brakima, the last place running GT3 Cup is still a good few seconds ahead of the GT4s. So in terms of lap time, as you say, Phil, that's kind of what we're expecting at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I'd suspect Dauber and Boardman certainly probably running quali laps. I'd say the same for Will Stevenson in the Ginetta. Ginetta, one of the stronger cars at Kyalami, if not the strongest car in GT4 around here. But we'll see. Bart Matcher currently last in, or not last actually, because I think Van Krassen was just behind him. But now we move on to qualifying. A lot sunnier than before. And sorry, Phil. No, a bit of a warmer track. I'm sorry to kind of cut you off a bit there. So yeah, as you're saying, qualifying starting, and well, the format is basically 40-minute practice, which the drivers have already done, starting a 21-minute qualifying session with an hour race at the end of this. Looking like things at the moment, it's the GT4 cars out first to allow them time to kind of not compete on track with the 911 GT3 Cups. Allows them just to kind of get a time in, allows them to sort their grid out without any interference other than the interference of themselves. So, no, as you said, Phil, very sunny looking Kyalami. Looking on the back of Verstappen's car, Verstappen first out in the little trail of cars. I say a little. It's what was a 40-car cap for each of the. Was it 40? I don't have any notes on 20, that one.
20, I've got notes here. It's 25 each, so it's a pack of 25 cars. So it's
well, at least someone has notes anyway.
I'm trying. No, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's a slow burn. The first Thursday back in a little while, and these guys are just on an out lap anyway. So I'm guessing that the way we usually work qualifying here
is that we split the time in half, so that it's a 21-minute qualifying session. It's an odd amount of time, but that basically means that's 10 minutes each for both sets of cars and allows them to get an outlap on the board. So allows them just to warm the tyres. Obviously, these cars, I don't think the GT3 Cups have tyre blankets either, so the outlap's all important to try and just not grain the tyres too hard and just get some temperature in them and ready for a flying lap. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, indeed. I'd point out as well that 10 minutes, they got about 10 minutes each, so the 21 to 11 minutes. So GT4s can start their last flying lap if it's before the 11-minute mark at the top of your screen. But 10 minutes isn't a lot of time if you haven't got any tyre blankets anyway. So basically what you'll probably find is your first lap is certainly getting your tyres up to temp. And then the lap that we're on now, as we're on board with Verstappen coming through the turn 1 to about turn 5 complex, I think, onto the back straight. What you'll probably find is this next lap that we're on now, or this first flying lap, is a bit of a warm-up lap as well, because your tyres will probably be about a PSI to half a PSI lower than where you want them to be for optimal pressures. So we'll probably see the drivers take their time through this lap they're on now and treat it as a bit of a warm-up lap as well. We'll certainly see faster times as from the second flying lap onwards, Austin.
Yeah, obviously the cars burn down fuel, warm up their tyres, and just say from that first lap onwards, you do start seeing the times kind of come in. So it's important in a way, it's important to not invalidate that first lap, because you need that time on the board to give yourself basically a point of reference or a delta. And without that delta, it's really hard to find where you're losing time in order to improve. Verstappen running, not using as much of the curb there as I thought. Closely followed by a Zero Goat, I think that is in the background. In the McLaren. So going down into the crocodiles now, trail braking in just kind of as you kind of want to. And again, it's kind of one of those like slow burns. You don't really know what's going on until the first car crosses the line, and we're only a few corners away as we bounce through Cheetah, avoiding the curb, running onto the grass on the outside a little bit there. Not enough to invalidate, but definitely using all of the road that you need to. Using a bit of the inside curve to the Camaro, a very soft setup usually. You can kind of abuse the curbs a little bit as we cross the line, a 151.545. So that's not, I'm not sure what we are in terms of pace. We'll find out as more cars cross the line. Azure has crossed the line, but not a time set, so that will be an invalidation from Azure there. As we see Jordan Daly come around the final corner, and wondering if they will be up on their delta. We'll find out in just a moment. But obviously John O'Reilly's is up there, Phil Malta's up there in P4, John Daly in P2, so only still half a second off of Verstappen's time. Verstappen, as we know, amazingly fast driver. Yeah, nothing really more to add. It's going to be a case of its provisional pole secured for now, but can anyone beat that?
Going back to what you were saying before about the Chevrolet, probably one of the tallest in terms of ride height in the GT4 class. GT4s, some people probably criticize them that they look a bit on stilts if you're used to watching a GT3 car go around, as we see Max Forster. A good example, obviously, you see the Audi R8 GT4 he's driving with compared to the GT4, or the GT3, beg your pardon, R8, a bit more slammed down to the ground. One of the advantages, of course, is you can ride curbs in these GT3s, or GT4s, beg your pardon, much more aggressively than in the GT3s. And obviously, Chevrolet, much higher ride height, so you do run softer springs anyway. It's like being in American truck sims sometimes. You can't see the front of your car. It feels like you've got a bonnet the size of like an aircraft carrier, or the length of an aircraft carrier. Can't see the front, and you don't really feel. I'm not really sure if you feel much in the Chevrolet. As here we see Max Forster come around crocodiles down to Cheetah. Sometimes in certain cars you can just ride that curve of death on the inside, just on the right, as we just come through last corner now. Late apex because you're going onto a straight. Very neat exit here from Max Forster, and we'll see where he is. He's on a quick lap, we're being told. See where he comes, and he is done about 8 temps faster, I think.
Yeah,
he's only gone up one position, though. Sorry,
well, it was only one position, but that's still P3 in that class of cars. So obviously, the silver denominator on the side there means a silver class car. The red means an AM class car. So these guys will be in their own race, and that's Jordan Daly crossing the line, less than a tenth of a second ahead of Verstappen there. So I know, Skrillex not far behind either of the 160s. It's starting to get really close at the top, and still about 5 minutes left of qualifying to actually go. It's a really interesting point you brought up, by the way, Phil, with the Camaro and the ride height. Especially around Kyalami, that was running a bit wide there from Verstappen, and I'm not entirely sure.
He's still on the lap,
yeah, we're being told it's still valid, so they're still on, and looking at their delta, they are 3/10 up, so they are set to retake that pole time. But speaking of that pole time, that's Stevenson in the Ginetta with a 1:51.3, so going about 2/10 faster than Verstappen's current time, so they've got a lot of space to make up there.
Yeah, indeed. I think Verstappen coming through mine shaft now. He's about 3.5 temps up on his lap. He is on for a provisional pole position coming through Crocodiles again. Massive amounts of curve. You can probably use a bit more of the track over to the left. It's very gentle on track limits around here. We go round. Oh, and just a bit wide through Cheetah. He's still up on his time coming through the last corner again. Late apex. We just got a lower class car. I think the Sarah Stant in front of us in the Maserati, but we're still just about 3 temps up. I think we're going to see another provisional pole lap here, Austin. Yes, indeed, we do.
There we go, but still by less than 1/10 of a second. Sorry for interrupting you there, Phil. Yeah, no, it's the Camaro's showing a lot of pace around here. It's not a car you normally see. It's not a car you normally see kind of pull something out, but you know, pulling provisional pole right now ahead of a Ginetta as well. I mean, Ginetta's quick on a few tracks, but you know, I never expected. You know, obviously, you know, there's a reason why I'm in the comms box and I'm not out there driving, but Ginetta's not usually a car we see up at the top, at least from my past experience here. Daly, I'm pretty certain Daly has stuck with the BMW a little bit as well, and it's really good to see the BMW out there, but also just noticing Skrillex also in the Camaros and Van Krausen, so there's a few Camaros out there, and they seem to be doing pretty well as Stevenson comes round the final corner, using a fair bit of the exit curve, running the outside tyres onto the white lines as we're about to cross the line. Is it enough to retake that pole position? I'm not entirely certain. Nothing seems to come out, and it was not enough to retake pole position. And by my calculations, they might have one, maybe at a push 2 laps.
No, just they'll have one more lap now.
One more lap was there. So Bart Matcher again in the Ginetta, about to cross the line, being told they're up on their time, and that is P3. So coming to the end of the session for these guys. P3, huge improvement, obviously starting in the top 3 potentially, has to kind of keep it up and hope that Daly doesn't make the most of their current lap. Rudy from Malta also on a fast lap as well in the AM class of GT4 as we're rounding the Crocodiles now. Coming up to Cheetah, again, we're talking about curbs like Kyalami, Phil. Cheetah's one of those curbs that there's maybe 1 or 2 cars in the game that you can really realistically hit it in and not lose time, let alone die. The Ginetta is not one of those cars. You can see the difference in line as well. Phil Malta just not using the outside of the track as much as the others. But that said, that's P6. That's P6 overall. That's Phil Malta in the silver class of cars for GT4. That is, as far as qualifying results go, that is well out of the league that you would expect from a driver like that, but in the best way possible. That was a flyer of a lap, and that speaking of flyers of a lap, I might have just jinxed Stevenson a little bit there.
Yeah, he was about a 10th or so, maybe just lying about a 10th or so above his fastest lap. Would have been on for a decent pole position, as he not advised to go into the pit lane that fast, as we're now past the 11-minute mark. Cup cars aren't allowed out until it is 10 minutes until the end, as Bar Matcher now comes round the Bruins of Crocodiles. He is about 2 temps up on his time. We may see a pole lap here from our RCI's own Bart Matcher coming through the last corner now. Bit of a, again, focus on exit here. He's very strong exit. He's 2 temps up on his time now. As he just crosses the line, that should be provisional pole, and it is by a very comfortable margin there, 1/10 up. I think we haven't got many more GT cars on the track. I'm trying to find where some of our other protagonists are, mainly Daly and Rudy Phil Malta, beg your pardon. Coming through the final set of corners now for Crocodiles. He's about 4 temps up. Yeah. Austin at the minute. Absolutely insane lap at the minute as he just comes through Crocodiles now onto Cheetah. Bit of curb, it's nice. It's still tidy, It's not that bad. just coming for the last corner now. It's all about your corner exit now. You can just go a bit slow through here, and I think he's had a bit of oversteer. He's still about 2 tenths up on his time, but yeah, only improves up to 6th overall as we just see some of the Porsche Cup cars come out now.
That's Tom Watts as well. Tom Watts into P7 as well. So another AM-class car just really making their way up through the field there. A really, really strong starting position. And again, let's not forget that these two classes of cars have their own championships effectively. So, you know, in terms of points, you know, they're really competing against the likes of Pimblett and Malcolm. So they are a nice 3-car gap between them. And at one point, Phil Malta was actually looking at almost taking pole. And, okay, that was the Van Krausen, I believe, crossing the line. But I don't think they improved on their time. And now we got the big boys, guys. Now we've got the 911 Cups. And, I mean, I suppose these guys are going to just show us how it's done.
Yeah, indeed. Some of, like we said before, no tire warmers for these cars, or like the GT4s. There'll probably be a lap or two before we see any real competitive times out. I'm not saying that the second lap will be uncompetitive, but we won't see like what the true metal is with these cars until probably about 3 laps in. As we see Andy Boardman just come through the final corner here onto his first flying lap. So with these particular Porsches, they're not usual GT3 cars. They are a bit faster, a bit less aero than your normal GT3 cars. They have ABS, Austin, but one thing a lot of us require, particularly if they lack in the well, particularly me in the talent department, missing a bit of traction control with these cars.
Yeah, no, these cars they do require a lot of concentration. I mean, as you say, the lack of traction control with what, about 500-600 brake horsepower under your right foot, it's very easy just to light the rear tires up and have the car go backwards, and getting them into a side, there's not a lot of steering lock to catch it either, with all the weight in the back, obviously with it being a 911. You know, you have a lot of back end grip as the tires get pushed down, but as soon as you break that back end grip, you've not got a whole lot to catch it back with. So, you know, if we have a wet race, Phil, this could be really interesting.
I mean, I did do a Porsche Cup Car Championship somewhere else. We had a few wet condition races, one changeable one. I've driven these cars with slick tires in a wet race once. Changeable conditions, obviously, not that insane, but yeah. So these are fairly. You would have thought like they'd turn around backwards, but to be honest, the way they're set up and the way these cars are made, like the power delivery is fairly neutral. Like with a GT3 car, you'll probably find that without TC, without ABS, they probably feel quite difficult to control, and that's because they are designed to have ABS and TC on them anyway. So these cars, they are being designed to have no TC. So that's probably the power delivery and the engine maps are probably taken into account there. As you see Andy Boardman there go like nearly 7 seconds faster already than the GT4. So we're probably certainly, like, you know, as multi-class racing is, there'll always be one faster one than the other, but it's not quite as fast as GT3s. GT3s are probably about 10 to 11 seconds faster than GT4 around here, which doesn't sound a lot, but you do notice it, particularly through some of the high downforce corners like Sunset, which is T6 or T7, I forgot which one it is now, but you really do notice it through there. As we see, there we go. That's what we're talking about.
There we go. There's the lack of TC coming in there, just kind of getting the back end of the car out, and well held from you there. I'm very, very lucky to not end up in the wall, but it goes to show just how treacherous these cars are.
Indeed. I mean, like I said, it's only when it's only, as you say before, like concentration. It's a good descriptor for these cars, or at least the way you're supposed to drive them. As we see Raphael Hewell here come round the clubhouse into the S's. These cars fairly through these mid to high speed corners. Like the general control and power delivery, you'll probably find is nothing too dissimilar from a GT3 car on the dry. But obviously through here, what this corner's called now? It's not from it. I don't think it's an English word, but the hairpin. Thanks. Yeah, Christian just reminded me just to call it a hairpin. Good advice there for a novice caster like me. Just if you don't know a corner, just say which way they go. So yeah.
I mean, it's
through some of these. Oh, sorry, I was going to say through some of these low speed corners where you need some of that torque, you probably do need to concentrate a lot on the power delivery, Austin.
Yeah, no, as we saw in the final. In the final, there we go. There we see it again. Raphael Hull just like losing it in mid corner a little bit there. In the final like kind of low speed corners where you've got the torque of the engine to sort of build up and contend with. It's so easy to lose the grip on the tires, and that's Hull up into P3. Dorber at some point along the way going 1.33 seconds. Sorry, 0.133 second ahead of about a tenth ahead of Boardman. Boardman was holding provisional pole for a good while throughout the session and has obviously now lost that too, but with the chance that still 4 minutes left, able to make it up. Andreas Vic Osland again looks like they're on a fast one coming through the S's. Again, very, very high rise curb there on the inside. You do not want to clip that in the GT3s. And coming down into the hairpin, and currently on their Delta, I mean, P5, Osland, they're about 2/10 up, so 2/10 would is enough to put them into P4 provisionally.
Yeah, indeed. As we see Andres Vik Osland here come through through mine shaft onto the final couple of corners. Now low speed corner, second gear. Just coming through here, just use a bit more of that curve. You probably don't want to use this curve on the right. You probably just want to give it a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a kiss. But yeah, curve of death in these cars because you're a bit lower to the ground. Again, late apex onto the main start finish straight. See if he can improve on his time. He's probably got 3 minutes left, so he's probably got enough time to do as he goes P4. Then he's probably got enough time though to do 2 laps certainly. I don't think he's got enough time to do 3 though, Austin.
Yeah, no, 2 might be all he's going to get away with, but it has a bit of a mountain to climb. Half a second to catch with the likes of Raphael Hull. Joe Dorber coming across the line. I think that was slightly faster. Yeah, best and last with a 143.697. So George McDonald also having a little bit of a moment there too. I mean, I'm guessing they were also up on their time, going sideways on the corner exit of Cheetah there. I'm not sure, obviously you don't have time to look over to see what the delta is, so this is going to be as much a surprise to me as it is to you guys. Losing it again on the last corner, that's going to kill their exit too. That's going to kill their chance of getting a decent run down to start this lap strong. But even still, that will take 5th place from Vic Osland. That will move them up, and there's really nothing between themselves and Nemsak. So, without those slides, that would have been P4 for McDonald there.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, sliding, drifting, it looks cool in a rally car, looks cool in initial D, probably and arguably faster with initial D physics, but sadly we are in ACC right now for George, so power slide's not the fastest way around the corner, but I'm pretty sure he knows that. He's a very capable driver in himself. As we now move to Joe Dorber, now driving down mine shaft. He's where are we now? We're just coming through mine shaft now into Crocodiles as the 777 is just about a tenth up on his time. Going through Crocodiles now. Make sure you're very careful with the throttle here, and he's invalidated. It's like gone a bit too far wide there on commentator's curse there, Austin, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. It tends to happen, and not just in this game, but in a lot of things that we've been watching recently. The commentator's curse coming in. Raphael Hull in P3, coming through Cheetah again, just skimming that inside curb. It's actually kind of majestic watching the cars through there. It's one of my favorite kind of slow-mo spots, especially during a race or during a fast lap. Coming out of the final corner, I don't have time to see where they'll wind up, but that will be the fastest lap of the session. But it's still not enough. There's still it's still like a tenth and a half off of the likes of Andy Boardman, who, speaking of Boardman, I think has either returned back to pits or is currently neutral with their delta. So I don't know if we're going to see Boardman take pole here. Nemsak is just crossed the line now, P4. So basically staying exactly where they were. So a lot of cars coming across the line as qualifying's about to end, and not a lot of change in the order so far.
No, indeed. I mean, I was going to point out that Joe Dorber at the minute I was also looking at the sector times, just noting Joe Dorber's laps. Probably he's got purple sector 1 and sector 3 times, while Andy Boardman's got the purple sector 2. Maybe that there's a difference in setups. Maybe that Joe Dorber's running a slightly lower wing setup or something like that in his car. Obviously, all these cars are exactly the same as each other, so gives us a few clues. There's a bit of don't know who that was. Just in front of Dorber, but he's kept his foot down there through Crocodiles. He's about he's just 2 temps up at the minute. I think my relative's lying to me. He's still 2 and a bit temps up there. coming through Cheetah now. I think he just misses that curve completely there on the right, but that's still a legit strategy to do. That's absolutely fine. Coming through the last corner now, misses the apex, but again, you don't really need to hit the apex of this corner so long as you just get your foot down nice and early. And that is a very quick time from Joe Dorber, 1:43.49.
Yeah, an extra couple of tenths on Boardman there, and honestly, if you're Boardman at this point, it's kind of hard to think about. It's kind of hard to think about how you come back to that, especially when you've only got one more attempt.
No.
There we go. Finally, we saw it. The Porsche going backwards, and that's exactly what we were talking about at the start when these cars came out. Engine in the back. As soon as the back goes, it acts as a pendulum, and that will send you around. And that is the end of qualifying. And I mean, that was a bit of a session, a little bit of drama towards the end there. So, just kind of settling it down. Just, getting let's get into the headspace. Got the race coming up, so let's not get too excited. We've got a lot going on. I'm excited. Phil, are you excited?
I'm very excited. I'm pretty sure Jan's going to be a bit disappointed. We managed to catch that on stream, but yeah, very capable driver Jan Yo. Pretty sure that this is just bit of what do you call it, like an unfortunate moment there. But yeah, the cars are making their way to the grid right now, nice and separated, of course. No Porsche Cup car behind any GT4s, which usually causes a bit of a mess when you have like an out of position higher class car in or at the back or around the GT4 or the lower class grid. So yeah, but Kyalami lends itself quite well to multi-class racing. Nice long straights, fair few braking zones for the cars to get around through there. Not many high-speed turns. I think there's only one or two. So usually you find that's usually the bane of multi-class racing drivers like existences, is when you're still behind a lower class car through some of the high-speed turns, because obviously there's no decent opportunity to get past if you're behind them before the corner starts.
Yeah.
It should be a good race, Austin.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it. So qualifying results, as you can see on the side there, you've got Dorber in first, Boardman in second, Hull in third, Nemsak in fourth, McDonald in fifth, Osland sixth, seventh is Yeo, Brokima in eighth, Bart Matcher in ninth, but that is the start of the GT4 field. Verstappen, followed by Verstappen and Stevenson, and top three of the AM class GT4s is Phil Malta, Watt, and Pimlet. So we've got a fair bit going on there too, and it's quite exciting. Everyone's kind of qualified in positions to where they want to be. I mean, Kyalami T1, T2. Actually, no, it's more T2, T3, because the T1's actually the king. It's that really kind of fast sort of like right-hand flick that is T1, even though it's pretty much a straight line. But T2, T3, notorious for being a bit of a nightmare for stewards, really.
But don't talk to Ryan Gill about turn numbers at circuits, or else you're going to have a half an hour rant on your hands if you even mention it to him. But yeah, usually like with turn, I mean sometimes like usually with turn numbers, we usually just look at when the first real corner is, as we zoom in on Jesse Lee here. Just keep an eye on the action there. He's found a great spot, I think, Austin, at the at the start of the race, and I wish he'd just stop following the camera. It's a bit unnerving. Yeah,
for some reason Jesse does not like us looking at the back of his head, and I don't know what Jesse's hiding. Maybe it's like an embarrassing tattoo or something. Maybe that's a theory. Are we starting a theory live on stream right now that Jesse Lee has an embarrassing tattoo that they do not want us knowing?
I think you ever watched the movie Matrix? I think he has one of those sockets in the back of his head.
Maybe
he doesn't want to let us know that we're in a lie.
Maybe he's secretly Hitman, and like he's got a barcode.
He's got a barcode. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be. Obviously, first race. Just get something out the way real quick. First race of the season. So obviously, we do not have season standings for the start of this race so far. But I mean, hell, we're about to make standings. So about to make history, and as we're starting the outlap for the race.
Indeed. Outlaps, of course, with these cars, you're probably going to find. Oh, and I've just noticed, Austin, on the old
the
weather ticker. On the old weather ticker, we just seen not the bane of people's existences, but Tom Bryant, of course, has been a bit mischievous with the weather settings here. First half hour looks like it's going to be nice and dry. And then between 10 and 20 minutes into the race, or 10 and 30 minutes into the race, should I say, we're probably going to see some rain clouds. So that may have ruined some people's pit stop strategies if they've already committed to something in the dry, I'd say, Austin.
Possibly. I mean, it is worth saying as well that with this series there is a mandatory pit stop, and I believe it's only 1 liter of fuel that they need to take on. Obviously, the stewards and admins can change those rules, on the fly and set it for certain championships. I know some race series actually have them change on a per race basis. So I believe this championship is 1 liter mandatory, and you can choose to take tires or not. So I'm wondering if that will influence any fuel strategies in the race, or even if obviously the weather can also change as well. The predictions can change, but as you say, Phil, it's going to be incredibly interesting to see where this winds up. The car's still only at the S's, going down towards the hairpin. So. The hairpin of Leah Coupe. I've said it before, Phil, but I'm like super excited. Like the outlap's always so tense.
Yeah, indeed. I think, to be honest, it's probably a bit more tense in some of those cockpits now, because that rain thing only just ticked over on the weather widget, of course. So what we see on the top right corner is what our drivers see. They don't see any more information than what we do, and we don't see any information than they do. We all get the same amount of information. But to be honest, looking at the amount of rain, it probably looks like it's going to be light rain for now. So, I mean, to be honest, we may see some drivers be a bit brave and probably stick it out on dry tyres. What have we got? We got about 26 cars on track. So even with light rain and these sort of, 28 degrees, 25 degrees ambient. So it is fairly hot. So I don't think we're going to see a wet track very quickly. It'll probably take about 30 minutes, I'd say, to even get to grease. It'll probably go damp quite quickly, but it probably won't get to somewhere where you can't get away with dry tyres. So I suspect we're probably going to see, unless it does tick over a bit to something heavier, we're probably not going to see probably going to see some drivers stay on the dry tyres, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these guys will have their own ideas of what they feel is best, and that is completely okay as we're rounding the final corner, about to get the show on the road. Dorber leading with Bourman behind. Currently watching the Raphael Hulen in third place. We see a little bit of the action in front and behind, just waiting for the green light. And it's the most tense moment of the race, at least the first leg of the race. Who's trying to get a good start? There we go. There's the green light. That's what we've been waiting for. Order not really changing. That's Jan Yeo getting a bit of either a slipstream or a great start, but the road kind of falling away from them, meaning that they might have a move on the inside here. Is that Yeo on the inside of Osmond? It might well be, and that is.
There's been a bit of a mess in the GT4. Phil, sorry to cut you off there, Austin.
No, it's okay.
I didn't see who dived in there. I was watching Malcolm in the 199 Alpine, and to just see this mess in front of him as a bit of a Moses moment, as the seas opened up for him. As we see Jordan Daly and Will Stevenson have a bit of an argument there. Daly's got a bit of legs on his BMW there compared to the Ginetta, but through sunset now to come, BMW is going to be a bit more sluggish in some of these corners. It's a bit like driving a boat sometimes in that car compared to the Ginetta, Austin.
Yeah, for sure. Daly being chased hard by Stevenson, but getting the exit, using that BMW straight line speed to make a move, pulling alongside. There's contact with the Alpine. That's allowing Stevenson to get a look on the inside. That's Daly also pulling the outside, using the torque, and again, that straight line speed. That's also allowing, I believe that's Phil Moore, to take a look on the inside. They're going 3 wide until Limsack.
Oh, no.
And there's contact. There's Stevenson going around sideways, and then collected again. I believe that's by Forster in the number 5 Audi. Oh wow! I mean, Stevenson has not had a fun first lap, have they?
No, I wouldn't say. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure some of these drivers are looking at just how much time they've got left in this race. It feels like they think it's 10 minutes to go, not 58 minutes to go on the first lap of an hour race. As Will Stevenson had just got a bit unlucky with some of the entanglements as Daly tries to get past Malcolm. And then obviously Malcolm's there, seeing it's gone 3 wide into the hairpin at the top of the hill. Probably a bit overwhelmed. There's a Porsche Cup car now. I think that's Andy Boorman, and that's the lead of the race at the minute there, Austin, as we see Andy Boorman trailing the rather fluorescent car of Joe Dorber in the 777 coming onto the back straight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely certain why Dorber would be ahead with a colour of car like that. I mean, usually you want to be sort of behind someone to kind of let the car in front know that, you know, you're there and your presence, that make them aware of your presence. But no, looks like no, Dorber's just so quick. He's been just dominant during qualifying. I'm trying to think of another word, but I can't. They're so quick, but Boardman no slouch either, keeping up with the slipstream. You said about changes of different runs of setups as well. Maybe Boardman's using a setup that's more suited for the race than it is for qualifying, as we see John O'Raza holding off the likes of Van der Wood in the nice to the Maserati out actually, and that's I believe Daly. I don't know if they're defending or no, they are defending against Phil Malta. Phil Malta really kind of sticking on them like sticking on like flies to left out meat, really. Trying to think of a better analogy, like wasps to a barbecue. You know, it's Phil Malta. I mean, let's be honest, the Ginetta does sound like it a little bit.
It's probably a bit of a pain, particularly when you go to like the likes of Paul Ricard and you just hit the limiter for like halfway through the straight. But either way, I've just noticed there's an accident between the 199 of Malcolm and Krausen in the 227. Yeah, just noticed that in the yellows as we see Malcolm there just have a bit of a moment over the curbs, and then I think Van Krassen just just understeers into him there. Bit of a double take out, but you know, obviously just to remind people, we're not live stewarding this race, so not going to see any penalties for anybody today. It's all going to be post-race stewarded, so it's down to these drivers to report their incidents after the race as we move to Forster, whose car also looks like he's been in the wars there, Austin at the front.
Yeah, well, they had a bit of a moment and they collected, I'm not too sure who it was. I think it was Stevenson. They collected Stevenson earlier in the race. And no, Forster has had a bit of a moment. For Streppard just wanting to get through at this point. Obviously very, very quick, caught in a sea of AM drivers ahead of them. Trying to get the corner exit, compromised Forster a little bit there, not able to use all of the runoff curb to get the speed down, and there we go, you sort of see just making the move done, almost getting rear-ended a little bit there with a bit of rub, maybe a bit of a rub onto the rear three quarters there, but making it through regardless. So that is the Camaro, number 7 Camaro for Verstappen, making their way through the field and making up for some of the damage done in the earlier in the closing, in the opening stages of this race. I can't get my words out, guys. But no, Verstappen took Cheetah so hard a few laps ago. We actually saw that on stream. I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to throw you off on a roll there, Phil. But no, they are driving so aggressively, but they kind of need to at this point. Like at the end of the day, the cars ahead of them have that clear air and don't have these slower cars ahead. So Verstappen really needs to sort of make up a lot of all the space that they can, and they have gotten through. And I believe, aside from Phil Malta, that is the last of the AM cars that they have to clear. Oh no!
I was going to say, like, that's Max Forster's Audi. That I was going to mention when I was able to was that sometimes when you're driving this Audi, it's like you got brakes made of cheese, and just probably missed his braking point there. Probably couldn't sight his braking point because of the Maserati. Had to be a bit fair there, but yeah, I was going to mention like beforehand, Verstappen stuck behind an Audi and a Maserati, probably the two slowest braking cars in the champ for various reasons, mainly for the Maserati. To be fair, you don't have any ABS, so you have to be a lot more careful on the brakes. You can't really trail brake as easily as some of these other cars which are blessed with ABS, and the Audi, which for some mysterious reason is such a slouch when it comes to braking. So we'll have to be a bit fair to Max Forster there and say it's probably just Audi GT4 things that caused that incident.
Meanwhile, I actually want to quote, I believe it was Tom Bryant, first RCI staff member I ever spoke to during the 6 Hours of Catalonia we once did a while back. We're reporting an incident similar to our team. The first, I want to quote Tom and what Tom said in that particular conversation. Dive bomb from Pluto.
Dive bomb from Pluto?
Dive bomb from Pluto was what was said.
Was that the steward report?
That was the steward report, as far as I'm aware. So I remember hearing keyboard clacking, and yeah, that was a bit of a send from Forster, just to bring things back on topic. That was a bit of a send from Forster, I think. It was a little bit ambitious, but as you say, sometimes the ABS systems on these cars do act a little bit strangely, so I'm guessing that would be one for the stewards to take a look. You've got a Zergot as Jurgo didn't have the best of qualifying, but really has kind of pulled it back. Looking at P2 in class, actually, so pulling it back from all the way towards the back of the grid to, so far, what seems to be a solid podium. So, a heck of a drive with that one.
Indeed, I think it's a bit of a crash test dummy livery going on there.
It is. That's great.
Yeah, the unmistakable. I don't know what they're called. Actually, I think like the Euro NCAP dummies have those sort of things for the camera to track where the head and the other limbs are. But yeah, McLaren GT4. One thing to note about that particular GT4 is you can't adjust the brake bias on that car. It is fixed. In real life, it's got like some fancy, clever computer that calculates like where the brake bias needs to be or something like that. But I don't think it's modeled like that in ACC. But it is fairly quick in a straight line. I think it is the fastest GT4, beg your pardon, in a straight line. I always thought that was a BMW, but apparently I've been told by people in FFS Racing what this is in fact the McLaren. But yeah, we see Spoda Skrillex here in the Chevrolet just behind this duo. This is like the top three. We're just less than a second with the top three in GT4 at the minute, Austin.
That's what I mean, a 4-second gap to Daly back there as well. So that's what I mean, Azur's really kind of pulled this to, what seems to be it seems to be a pretty done podium, really. Andy Boardman still on the back of the race leader Dorber. Again, just stuck it into the slipstream, looking to make an opportunity out of something. Half a second behind, so well within the means to start thinking about a move. Again, I suppose if you're Boardman, what's going through your mind right now is you're eyeing up Dorber's strengths, their weaknesses. As you said in qualifying, Phil, Dorber was quicker in first and third sector, but Boardman very strong in the middle. So looking maybe for an overtaking opportunity there too, and just the chance to try and get a little bit close, just to inch that gap in. It's hovering around half a second, has been for the last 10 minutes since we started. So going back to Skrillex as well, and the fight for second place in the GT4 class. I mean, Azur's did a really good job holding off Skrillex at this point. There was a little bit of a sketchy moment on the last lap heading towards sunset. Now, I thought they were going to make contact. Azur moved over just a little bit, and Skrillex was getting a little bit opportunistic. I was a little bit nervous for the drivers and the stewards there, but they kept it clean, and they're still going. But, they're putting the pressure on, and there is a yellow flag somewhere on the track that's just cleared up.
Is it just a
that's
cheater?
That's the 604, and that's the Maserati that's gone off a cheater there. I wonder if they've just hit the curb a little bit too hard and just gone into the wall.
Yeah, I think there wasn't that much around stand there, so it may have just been a bit of driver error, but obviously just speculating as we go back to this battle with P2. I was going to say Austin, beg your pardon, stuff for the sun there. I think one thing that's benefiting as you go to the minute is the legs that this McLaren has compared to the Chevrolet. Chevrolet not really known for its straight line speed. It's like driving a massive block through the air when you're driving this car, but it's very strong over the curbs and through the corners. But as we see here now, we're just coming down from the hairpin, going downhill now through Mineshaft coming up next, which is a nice fast left-hander. We'll see. I think you just lift a little bit in these cars through here, but obviously you'd like a bit of aero as he just gone a bit wide there over the grass, and I think Spoda's there tried to go around the outside as but it's fairly
just as you're holding the inside line there and just able to to cut you off there, Phil, just as you're holding the inside line there, and that will be Boardman and Dorber coming up to, I believe that is actually, no, that's not Spoda. Who is it?
No, that's Van Krausen.
Van Krausen,
yeah.
And again, this is where things get frustrating for these two drivers, because traffic management can make or break. And there we go. You saw that Van Krausen actually allowed Boardman to catch right up to Dorber there, and then just being pushed offline is enough to sort of lose that time all over again. Boardman getting it very sideways there on the entrance to Leo Cup. And you see the gap open up now. That's going to be a little bit harder now for Boardman to catch up. But as we're making our way through traffic, and we're only 12 minutes in, so this is just the first round of traffic. I can imagine we'll get at least another one as well. So this might influence the stream a little bit. Yeah, but I suppose at this point, you know, if you're Boardman, you're trying to make as much that opportunity as you can. Going for the inside, Stevenson giving them a wide berth. Raphael Hull not far behind, actually. I think all that palaver with the traffic has actually just brought Raphael into striking distance.
I mean, I was going to mention Hugh's probably looking at this, just absolutely loving what he's seeing. He's not lost the track with the leading pair either. But one thing to note with multi-class racing is, of course, you will lose time behind traffic. Sometimes you lose more than your opponents. Sometimes you gain on your opponents through traffic. It's just where you hit them. And we've only just hit, like, to say, the little 1 or 2 dots of traffic. They still got to catch that main blob of GT4s just coming down the hill into mineshaft at the minute. So they are catching, but we're probably not going to see them until maybe probably about just over halfway through the race, as we now turn to Vic Osland, and that's the 23 of, what do you call him, Brokima ahead of him. Just coming through onto the back straight onto Sunset now. Fairly, I wouldn't try the overtake there. He's, I think Vic Osland there is just making sure that the 23 of Brokima can just see him in his mirrors there, as he's struggling just to control his car through some of these low torque corners, Austin.
Yeah, as you say, it's one of those cars that it's a little bit hard to. As we've said, we've seen it before. We saw it with Janier at the end of qualifying. You know, it's one of those cars that's really hard to kind of control. You know, it takes a lot of concentration to control it consistently, as opposed to over a 1-lap pace. But no, Osland really sticking to the back of oh God, who look at Brokima there. Skrillex making a miracle on the outside. That's actually another thing I wanted to bring up. I wanted to bring up that, you know, Sunset's not given the speed and the fact there's only really one line through Sunset. It's really hard to look at a move, and Skrillex going for it. Also, Phil, I just realised something. Not to take away from the fight, but Azur's livery.
Oh, I was going to mention this. I thought you were going to mention it's not raining anymore. Like, rain just come completely. What?
I did also notice that too. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's all right. I was just watching my other screen. Just saw Joe Dolber and Andy Boardman just have a little bit of a moment there. A bit debatable about whose fault it was there. I'm not sure if we're going to get a replay of that. There's a bit of contact between Dolber and Boardman, as we now just watch a replay as Dolber's there just defending the inside lane through turn 2. I think Boardman's just turned in a bit early on Dolber. Not really much Dolber can do if he's turned in a bit early there, but probably a racing incident, to be fair to the pair of them. But not much Dolber could have done. Very well defended though, and Boardman's still on his case.
That's it. Could have been a lot worse than it was, and you say it looks more like a racing incident. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys have the right to race. Maybe a little bit opportunistic from Boardman, but I suppose that's not really for us to decide. As you were also saying, Phil, weather radar is looking dry compared to what it was looking before, but that has the potential to change. Skrillex looking to make a move down into T2, but not going to happen. Getting very, very close. Mentally, this has got to be so draining for Azure. Like if you're Azure, you want to start looking at chasing down Mats here, but you really can't begin chasing whilst you're defending against that Camaro, which is keeping them honest the entire way through. I was actually going to say, Phil, Azure's livery. I think it's Ridge Racer.
Oh, is it? I don't think I've played that game, but.
It looks like one of the Ridge Racer cars, and I know Azure from a couple of other championships. They've come a long way. I said this last season. I commentated with spectating them. They've come a long way in terms of a driver, and to see them basically in the top split. This is, I'd imagine. I think this is the top split of.
This is.
With the likes of Verstappen. Yeah. I know Verstappen is really fast. So and they've challenged for championships. I've commentated before as well. So. You know, to see them challenging for podiums, see Azure challenging for podiums in the top split of RCI now, it's so good to see it. It goes to show the progression, you know, that some drivers make when they come into the when they come into the server, you know, and you see them start, you know, as one of the slower RAM drivers and make their way through, and that will be Skrillex trying to just capitalize on an exit there, get a later apex, get the power down sooner, but it hasn't seemed to have worked. But Azure, as I say, keeping them honest through and through for 15 minutes into this race so far.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I was going to make the point that you're making a good point about Goat just being exhausted, because what I'd suggest that Skrillex is doing is just making sure that every mirror on that McLaren is just got a Chevrolet in it. And it just gets so exhausting when you're trying to like defend your position. He's not gonna. I don't think he'll be able to do it for 42 minutes though. But we'll see just how well he can do. As we now just move to Verstappen now, he's just behind John Araser. This is 4th position. As yeah, just it's not quite a dive. It's a bit of a nice control, very controlled dive. But yeah, John Araser will fight you for your position fairly, obviously, but probably recognises he's not going to be anywhere near Verstappen's pace today, and it's still 42 minutes left, so it's probably not worth the hassle at all. As now we swap over back to Skrillex and Goat here, just coming through Clubhouse Corner. Still on his case though, and I think Spoda may just be getting a bit frustrated because obviously he can't quite get past through.
Oh!
I think he just had a bit of a punt
Yeah,
there.
that was. I don't know. Yeah,
and I think he just got off the grass. We'll see if yeah, and I think Daly's going to take advantage of this now. He's just going right up behind. Obviously, Skrillex avoiding getting a penalty for pushing car off the track, or at least he's probably going to get reduced down to a warning. A Goat does report it, but yeah, Daly under no obligation not to take advantage of the situation here, as now he's got the legs now in that BMW to get through. I think he's going to be a bit brave in these GT4 cars going through mine shaft as he's a bit of space there. He's probably not got the braking performance is on the BMW. Oh, and he's just given a bit of a
flash
bit
there.
of a nudge, a bit of a flash there. I think that's probably more like a flash in apology there, because I'm not really sure there's much Spoda could do. And this weather is still changing his mind, Josh. I've just noticed again, we're looking at a little flash of rain for about maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
I think that this is going to be really interesting. At this point, the weather radar's a little bit useless. We kind of just have to go off what we can see. And if I'm not mistaken, with these cars' lights coming on, it is getting progressively darker here. And yeah, I mean, it looks like rain is imminent. Is imminent, Phil. It looks like it's about to happen. It is clouding over. And I mean, what a heck of a race we've had so far. A hell of a race, in fact. And Rudy Phil Malta just sticking with him. I think that's way ahead of. Wait, no, it's not way ahead. Looking at things, it's 3.323 seconds ahead of Verstappen and a second ahead of Eraser. Yeah, okay, no, they are a good 10 to 12 seconds ahead of Van der Wood. Daly getting really opportunistic there as well, whilst I'm sat there trying to calculate the maths on the left-hand side there. I'm doing terrible. I'm missing things left, right, and centre. But no, I definitely, this will be a massive relief to us. You're looking in the mirrors and realising now that, that Skrillex now also has Daly to deal with. And having to, that puts the pressure onto Skrillex. Skrillex now having to be the one to go defensive. Will be losing time to us, and that'd be frustrating as well. That'll also get to you mentally as well. You've already given the car ahead of you a bit of a bonk. That will play on your mind. That's hard to let go sometimes. And you've got the likes of Daly behind you. Jordan Daly's a really quick driver. I mean, again, he's a bit of an RCI veteran. He's been around a good while now, and no, definitely not the kind of driver that you want to have behind you.
No, indeed. I mean, I was going to make the point while we're talking about Goat looking at this, looking very happy in his rearview mirror. I point out that Bart Match is probably even more happy with this situation right now. I mean, the gap, to be honest, between him and Goat has gone up to 6 seconds. Bart's absolutely loving this at the minute. He's all out on his own there in T2. Go back to that Ginetta, we can just about see in Skrillex's rearview camera there, Rudy Filmator. I'm not really sure we're going to see that much. If I was in his shoes, I wouldn't really be trying to fight these lot in front of me. I'd just be hanging back, just being a passenger in all of this. We're only, we're about 12 seconds in front of P2 in class, Van der Woerder, and you're not really racing people around you. You're just using the people around you as cushions, really. We're not really being held up by Daly and Skrillex just yet, or even Go. We just can't, Vilmater's doing a pretty good race so far, just keeping out of trouble with the people outside of his class, and yeah, he's got a nice bit of a front row seat for this battle in front of him, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Phil Malta can just take this kind of chill, and what a show it is. Being having the prime seat in the house to kind of watch it all from, but at the same time, it's got to be nerve-wracking because if one of those cars goes off in front of you, you've got to react quickly to avoid it.
and to avoid not throwing it all away. Daly looking on the outside of Leah Cook there, switching to the inside, trying to get the exit, just trying to get the switch back, and getting the slipstream down the straight, potentially with an eye to make a move with mine shot here. And that's the BMW straight line speed coming in. I mean, the Camaro's got very good low end torque, but not so great on the top end, and that's where the BMW thrives. And again, like, these cars' strengths and weaknesses all kind of match up, and Kyalami is not an easy track to overtake.
No, indeed. I mean, we're probably going to see. I mean, to be honest, the BMW's only chance Daly's going to be able to get past these two is on the back straight, and on this straight we're about to approach now. Got a bit of a bad exit through this. I've just been via Christine there just saying, with that exit, and indeed I'd agree with that point. Daly having a bit of a poor exit for the last corner there. I think he's probably just going to use this straight now just to catch back up with the people in front. As I just spotted, and we just seen crashes.
No.
What is going on at the minute now? I think yes, Daly's through past Skrillex there, and Skrillex has lost the position to Felmoiter. I just noticed as well. As we now move, Daly now moves onto the back straight. He's right behind Go. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to try and overtake in these cars through Sunset Austin.
No, it really isn't. But
just about enough space. As fantastically defended there from Go. Some good racecraft though from Felmater, I must admit. Seen the incidents in front of him and managed to make up a position, and I think Skrillex is just getting past as Daly just gets past. I think he's gone a bit too hot into the S's. Goat should be taking that position back, but Daly there keeps his foot in. Some great driving from the pair of them though, as Skrillex is, even though he's had a bit of an incident at turn one, he's still seeing this in front of him, and
oh no,
and that's a race leader that's in this mess as well. What is going on, Austin?
It is a bit of a mess, to put it politely. That's Dorber just wanting to make their way through. It looks like Skrillex is having a few connection issues, because they've kind of phased in and out once or twice now. And if I was the cars around, I'd be looking at saying something. Boardman losing a lot of time there. Skrillex getting his year for a second, third time. Man, that's like a fourth or a fifth actually. They've made contact a couple of times now. The front end of Azur's car looks quite damaged. Front end of Skrillex's car is pretty much, as far as ACT damage model terms goes, destroyed. And I mean, the leaders have lost time. I think Raphael Huel might have lost time in all of that. Skrillex has attained damage. Azur's attained damage. Phil Malta seems to have made it through okay. And Daly is really the only person in all of this that benefits.
Indeed, it's a bit more of a mess. It's so frustrating when you're just coming up. I'm not really sure Dorber could have done anything better. I think I saw a bit of. I think Andy Boardman just gave a little bit of a tag to Azure Goat going into Crocodiles from memory there, but obviously we can see a replay of that later on. But as we see Raphael Huel there just get quite neatly past Daly. But yeah, some fairly optimistic driving from everyone. But yeah, fairly straightforward. You see a replay of this Crocodiles incident. Andy Boardman there going in between the Chevrolet, and I think just a bit of miscommunication there. Very difficult when not only are you fighting for position, but you're having to I've lost what I was going to say now. But you're trying to
I think
as brain, yes.
Yes, I think Azure was basically just trying to give I think it was either Dorber or Bobman space, one of the leader Porsches coming through. They just wanted to give the space for that, and I just don't think that Skrillex really accounted for Azure maybe going offline. But as you guys have said, the rain has come. Track is already greasy, and well, that was fairly sudden. We knew it was coming, but that's come down fairly hard right away.
Yes, I'm looking at the weather radar as we see Andy Boardman have a massive dirt rally moment through Cheetah there, absolutely right on the opposite lot there, but some brilliant car control. As we're going to see these guys not only concentrate just even more harder now, as these cars are not only on slicks but also in the rain. This will be absolutely key now for some of these guys just to stay calm. As we see Yan Yo just go past the bottom of your screen, Phil Mortar for lapping. As we see Michael, was that Nemsak? And I think that's Sarah Stant in the pits as well. Nemsak there just in P5. Skrillex though, I point out that some of these cars, particularly the McLaren, like I remember I did an RCI race I forgot what championship it was now, but me and fellow steward Rob Franken did a race in the McLaren GT4, had 30 seconds of damage, and we didn't notice the any drop for performance at all. So these GT4s, particularly the McLaren, fairly sturdy. I say the Chevrolet is probably just as sturdy. Lots of its performance doesn't come from the body, where the bodywork's there just to probably be pretty. As I think he's forgotten, he's at his right indicator there, Austin.
Maybe it was just damaged in the crash, who knows. Looking at the weather radar, not that it's been incredibly useful so far. Within the next 10 minutes or so, it's going to start easing up. And, very sideways there from Skrillex. But not only is it going to start easing up, in the next 10 minutes now, it's looking like it's going to be dry. It's looking like it's actually going to dry up. And as the Christians just said in my ear, the Maserati struggling. And yes, it's also worth noting as well, for those that don't know, the Maserati has no traction control and no ABS. And at this point in time, I'd imagine is also on dry tires. So for Van der Wood here, it's going to be a little bit touch and go, I think, with Pimlott staring right down them. And then this rain, it appears, has closed up the leaders to a massive degree. Dorber was over a second ahead of Boardman. Now it's 0.3 of a second. And both these
he's
going for a move on the inside of turn 2. Are going to make contact yet again. This time Boardman taking the position. Was going in a little bit hot, but I would also argue that Dorber potentially had room, although it's not my place to say. That probably will go to the stud, but that is for the most part, as it stands for today, that is the lead of this race changing from Dorber handed over to Andy Boardman in what might just be a questionable move.
Indeed, I'll probably point out, I think Boardman just about missed the apex on the turn into turn 1 or turn 2, whatever you want to call it there. So we'll see. It'll be a fairly interesting call for the stewards if that ever gets reported. I'm pretty sure if it does end like this, Joe Dorber will probably end up sending a report, particularly if that is what decides this race. But yeah, it's not really as big an incident as Huel, who's now 5 seconds back once. But yeah, we're Joe Dorber there, kept fairly honest though by Andy Boardman. We'll probably see as this incident clears up. Yeah, we're going to just watch a replay now. Boardman there just had a bit of a dive at the inside, yet just about missed the apex, I think, but he didn't just go straight on us. Usually what we look for with incidents like that is if they just go straight across the apex and into the car, which turns in. But the fact that I think Boardman probably could have turned in a bit more, but he'll probably be fine. I'm not really sure. With these TV cameras, it's a bit difficult to tell who's at fault and who isn't. So it'll be interesting to see, Austin.
Yeah, usually when obviously you'll know from your other roles here at RCI, Phil. Usually when drivers report this sort of thing, we ask for multiple different camera angles just to make it a little bit easier to see. It's the perspective's a little bit strange from the helicam, but yeah, it was a little bit touch and go there. Tom Watts just on the back of Kester there a little bit. Ginetta versus Camaro, this couldn't be any more different in terms of types of car, and that's why I love our GT racing. And that you've got like muscle cars against sports cars against sort of like luxury cars like the M4, supercars like the R8 and the McLaren. So obviously these cars are sort of balanced in such a way that they can race closely, and both have advantages and disadvantages. And coming up to this part of the track now, especially in these conditions, the Ginetta is the car I would rather be in. So all odds in favour of Tom Watts as they take a rather shallow line through there, hitting the curb. And in these conditions, you do not want to run onto those painted edges because they're a little bit deaf.
Indeed. I think Tom Watts just had a bit of a... probably just braked a bit too late coming into the S's, so had to obviously take a much more compromised line through. Track's just gone damp now. That's probably as worse as we're going to see today. With this rain, it's only going to be probably another couple of laps of rain now, and even then it's only like the first level of rain, so we're not going to see that much as we just see Brokma there just get past GT4 leader Bar Matches. Just had a bit of a moment there, but obviously these cars all probably still out on slick tires. I would not recommend going on some wets even for 10 minutes. We're not in Grand Prix racing now where pit stops happen in less than a blink of an eye. If you're changing tires, you're going to be stopped for 30 seconds at least, depending on if you've got damage or not. So this is the question of whether you can gain 30 seconds, of time in that space. Not only that, but it will go dry or stop raining in about less than 10 minutes time, and then probably the track's probably going to fall as we see a bit of a mess here in front of us as Andy Boardman's probably caught up with that Ginetta of is that Tom Watts just in front of us there?
Looks like. Yes, yeah.
So probably just a bit. One thing that's probably just adding to the stress of the minute for Boardman is not only do you have the guy you're racing just behind you, and it's wet, but you're also having to overtake some of these GT4s in this weather. As Boardman managed to slip through. Kester there is a more opposite. We're going to see plenty of these. I think we should just stay on some of these onboards with the GT Cup cars. To be honest, Austin. For these conditions.
I mean, I really hope Dauber and Boardman have at least kind of cancelled their gym memberships for tonight, because these cars are a workout enough as it is. Going sideways, pulling you from left to right, and let's be honest, like some of these sim wheels, some of these dark drive bases, even like the CSL belt bases, they can put out a lot of force. They have the potential to really hurt you. So. For anyone who says sim racing isn't physically demanding, maybe I'm just, weak as hell, but, I think it definitely has the potential to be, and conditions like this and in cars like this, physical exhaustion also comes into play as well, and,
Yes, I was gonna say sometimes it's a bit like, because I remember, we have a bit of a lull at the minute, but obviously it's like when I went go-karting once and some of my colleagues who do gyms and stuff like that. I'm just a twig-armed individual, so I don't really work out that much. But I don't think that we're used to some of the times where you just have to hold the steering wheel at a certain angle and resist those forces. It's a bit like it's a bit like planking, but in a weird sort of position with some of these cars, as we see Tom Watts and Kester there, just some side by side through turn. We're going to argue about this, but into the first effective turn of this track, a bit of a early turn in there from Kester there, but no harm done there. As Tom Watts now goes on his way, we still have about four. We have the lead 3 GT4 cars still to pit. Still Vic, Osland and Bruckmer at the back end of the Cup class, and I think the top 3, Boardman, Dauber and Huell, all yet to pit, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to know the true order of things until everyone comes back out, and as you say, looking at the weather radar and looking at how it's looking, it looks like it's brightening up a little bit, which means that we are maybe looking at the rain coming to a close soon, and the track drying up. Obviously, as cars go around, you are going to get a dry line, and but for the time being, I'm just looking forward. I'm just enjoying watching the Porsche Cup battles going on, because they're so much fun to watch. These cars aren't easy to drive at the best of times, let alone in conditions like this with traffic, as we said a few laps ago. Watching Boardman and Dauber just fight it out. And Dauber 2.5 seconds behind now, so I'm wondering if they had either a bit of a moment or got caught up in traffic, but that does also put them 0.6 of a second from Raphael Huell. But looking at the background there, Huell actually has, I believe that's Forster between Dauber.
Redford.
Redford, yeah, so Redford. So, yeah, no, sorry, I was making a bit of a mistake there. But, that will give Dauber a little bit of breathing space from Huell. Huell having a bit of a moment too, though. We've got the Alpines on the side there. It's to the point now you can't really look at the Delta to see who it actually is, because everyone's so far apart now, and I think this is the second or third run of traffic for the GT4s.
I think, yes, probably some of these GT4s have pitted, so some of these Cup cars that haven't pitted yet, I've probably seen somebody going, "Oh, not you again," so. Yeah, but Huell, bit hesitant getting past Redford there. I think he had a chance to just get him through the last corner, but with these changing conditions, it's probably the best call to make. Just being a bit hesitant, really. But yeah, still got through in the end, and he's only about just under 5 seconds from Dauber at the minute, as we see Neil Pimlott there. And one thing I just want to comment on, Austin, which is really off-putting, is those wipers on the Aston. I don't like wipers that that don't wipe the same way. It's so weird to me. But yeah, probably see just a simple 1 liter pit stop from Pimlott there. No need to change that. As yeah. But Phil Malta just retaking the lead, I believe. Pimlott's only just had his jacks down, so he'll probably come out P2. I haven't seen Van der Werder, actually. I think Van der Werder's had... Van der Werder's not pitted yet, actually, and they're back in last place. So I think they've had a bit of a moment. Sometime we haven't been able to catch it. But yeah, Rudy Phil Malta back in the lead for the AM class. We're going to call it AM, are we, Austin?
Yeah, I think by the game's own denomination, I think that's the correct word. I'm very I might shout into a microphone, but I'm very bad at English apparently. But by the game's own markings, yeah, this is the AM class. I know that I know that the different classes of cars are sort of denominated a weird way. Obviously, you've Bart Matcher and like you do the likes of Verstappen and Daly, who, if you put them in a GT3, would be in that pro class. But no, the game's denominating them as silver as just being that class of car, with it being the GT4s. So looking at things, the rain has in fact stopped, but the track is still damp. So I mean, at this point, do you kind of I suppose for the cars that kind of saw it through, has anyone taken wet tyres at this point? Because that might have been a bit of a mistake if the track dries up quicker than expected.
I think, to be honest, we're probably not going to see that many, if any, people on wet tyres. As I think Andrew Harvey there has just had a bit of a moment coming out of clubhouse. You can just about see that line drying up there. But yeah, probably going to see maybe about 5-10 minutes before we'll see the track go greasy. Usually with ACC, what you'll find is the track was already fairly well rubbered. So, and because it's not really rained that much, we're probably just going to see the track go from greasy to green to fast quite quickly, I'd suggest. But yeah, Raphael Hewler just behind Harvey. One thing I want to note about Raphael Hewler's car, does he have like musical notes on his bonnet? I haven't had a...
I think so. I've clocked it a few times here and there, and
we're going to see free cam.
Yeah, Christian is pulling in wonders for us today. Yeah, Christian pulling in wonders, and yeah, no, it's actually a really nice livery. I see it's looks like the Blaupunkt livery as well, with the Blaupunkt blue dot. I think the liveries I've seen with those guys, they had old DTM liveries back in the early 2000s. So it's a brand that's been around for a while. It's made its way onto several race cars, particularly some of the Audis and a lot of the DTM things, obviously German companies, so that makes sense. So I'm wondering if Raphael Hewler is running a car based off of a real-world livery. So if anyone could tell me that in the chat, that'd be great, actually. A little bit of a... don't say we don't do audience participation. Oh! Verstappen going full initial D there, but yeah, no, don't say that we don't try to do audience participation here at RCI, because we have our moments.
I was gonna say, Austin, Christoph, we're not. I know that these cars are GT rally cars, but we're not doing. I don't think those cars have got gravel tires on today. But bit of a moment there for Verstappen there, just through the S's. I think he's running. Where is he now at the minute? He's running. Oh, he's running P2 in class at the minute, so it's a hell of a recovery drive from Verstappen at the minute. He's only got Matcher ahead at the minute, but I think he's about, I'm not 6. Is he 65 seconds behind? So
yeah,
yeah, he's really pushing that car at the minute, Austin, through Cheetah to try and catch up. I think Bart Matcher is probably a bit too far away for Verstappen today.
Verstappen really kind of proving the salt as kind of like a driver that is able to challenge for championships, and definitely a name to watch for this GT4 split for this for this season of the Thursday Championship. Obviously, first race on the board too, so wherever everyone finishes, they have the opportunity to make it up, because anything can happen over the course of just a few short weeks. But I was just saying, Verstappen driving the absolute nuts off of that Camaro and chasing down Bart Matcher. But is it going to be enough? As it's been pointed out, Matcher does still have that stop to make, so it's going to be touch and go. But 18 minutes remaining, it could be done, as we're seeing. Actually, who is that in the foreground? That is on with Verstappen. That's one of the that's one of the 911s. So Yeah, going very sideways there. But yeah, no, the race kind of settling down a little bit now. I mean, conditions still tricky, but you know the drivers kind of just settling into the flow of things. And you know, again, this is where kind of the endurance part comes in. You can't be on the limit 100% of the time. You at some point you have to take that mental step back. You know, assess the situation. If you haven't stopped already, you know, kind of plan on the stop. Dorber less than a second behind of Boardman. So again, that gap is fluctuating massively every single time we get to take a look. Bart Matcher ahead in the GT4 class. As we say, still has the connection loss racing, still has that stop to make. So where will that come out? We'll have to see when they stop.
Indeed, they've still got about 17.5 minutes of this race left. Bart Matcher there probably doing a very nice job. Just racing on, I mean, to be honest, he's probably struggling a bit. I'd struggle a bit sometimes. Racing on your own, you've only got yourself for company, you've only got yourself to race with. So, yeah, he's had to do this. He's had to do that at in difficult set of circumstances, particularly with the changeable conditions. So he's now swapped to Will Stevenson, just chasing him. I think that's a Joe Go just ahead of him there. And this is for P4 in GT4 Silver class at the minute. So, again, we talk about fairly strong recovery drives. I think Will had a bit of an incident with, I think it was the Alpine of Malcolm on the first or second lap. So he's done fairly well for himself to recover. As now the track's just gone greasy. It's been about 5 minutes since the rain stopped. So we're probably going to see a dry track for the last 10 minutes, I'd say, Austin.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, yeah, it seems like that is going to be the way. And I think as far as Stevenson's race goes, the only word that really describes it is, well, bullied. I think Stevenson at the start basically, made contact with one of the Alpines, made contact with, I believe it was, wasn't Redford,
Malcolm.
it was
Malcolm.
There was Redford. There was also Forster as well. Forster down at down at the hairpin.
Yes.
So yeah, Stevenson's been bullied in their lunch when he's been taken, but making a move on the inside there. I mean, as you're being pushed wide a little bit, has to kind of concede it, and I mean that's Stevenson. Christian,
the bully becomes the bully in this case, Austin.
Yeah, someone get a teacher. That's not fair. That's not what we like to see. As you're looking at making a move on the inside as well, going down into the hairpin. I don't think they've got the space to, but Stevenson really taking advantage of the lighter weight of that Ginetta and just using the agility just to kind of dart on the inside. And I believe that is Andy Boardman in the background as well. You know, the leaders once again coming up behind and will be closing in on those GT4s soon. And Boardman will be looking to clear this as soon as they can. Dorber breathing down their neck once again. This gap between the two has been fluctuating all race. Dispatching as you're almost making contact, almost being pushed into the curb on Cheetah there, running on the outside. Very easy to lose it, especially when the track is greasy. There's already not a lot of grip as it is, but it will actually improve on the lead to Dorber there. 1.22 seconds apparently.
Yeah, the Dorber just had a bit of a moment over the curb through Cheetah. Probably just got a bit distracted by that because I think even I was going, I'm not sure about this. But then again, I'm not really sure people should be going through Cheetah side by side anyway. But yeah. But wait, hang on. I've just had someone in my ear tell me that Verstappen is fighting for track position with this 23 just in front. That's Broekma there as so Verstappen there managing to. I mean, we saw the gap in qualifying, Austin, but he's managed to bridge some of this gap. But I think that's probably just down to the conditions more than anything else. And still don't really have an update on the gap from Verstappen to Matcher in P1, but still yet to pit in the 55 Connection Loss Racing Ginetta. But Verstappen still keeping him honest. I think it was probably one of these really annoying things now, Austin. I think where the cars are a bit so far apart, you can't tell how well you're doing, and sometimes you just have to rely on your spotter to tell you if you're gaining on the car or not. But yeah, with this GT Cup car just between them, it's going to be even more difficult to tell where you are as we now move to Max Forster and Mike Redford. This fight for P5 in class, or P4, I think it's P5, but as I said before, Audi fairly strong in a straight line, but one of the things I always found frustrating with this Audi is this feeling of no brakes in this car. So just very brave there. Go around the inside of my Redford. Obviously, the track then changes to Redford's fair on the inside, and he's got a nice little exit there. But he's coming up to the hairpin at the top of the hill.
He set up a bit of a switchback here.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting that, Phil. Redford Forster having the inside line there on Redford. Kind of running it a little bit wide.
Whoa.
Oh, it actually was a bit of contact, a bit of netcode contact there. The cars didn't actually... I don't know if that was a snap from the Alpine now. Obviously, Christian in my ears as well. I'm not entirely certain whether or not that was contact ourselves, but it was either a snap or a little bit of netcode contact there between the two cars that might have aided the Audi in getting through, and that will be Forster taking that position regardless. And Neil Pimlott now on the back of Azure Goat, and again, it's going to be a little bit frustrating for Goat as well, considering they were doing so well. Like, qualified kind of a little bit on the less desirable side, but then making it up to a class podium. So, if you're Azure at this point, you've had to go defensive. You've been punted. You've made up places. You've gone down the grid once again. It's been a bit of a roller coaster race for Azure, and now you find yourself in what looks like a damaged car, defending against someone from the class below. And it actually brings up a really interesting situation right down Phil, because if you're Azure, what do you do? Because if you let Pimlott through, you don't really lose any points here, because obviously the points are based off of, at least in the past when we've done this, the points have been based off of a class-based system. So Pimlott will take P2 in their particular class, and Goat's position in their own class doesn't change either overall. Do you let Pimlott through and just kind of like not, if someone's faster, or obviously with it in a lesser damaged car, do you let Pimlott through and just not risk another incident and risk losing more spaces, or do you just keep fighting and think, well, no, this is my overall position, I'm gonna defend this fair and square? Like, what do you do in that situation?
So there's a two sort of thing about this, really. I mean, there's no real right or wrong answers, particularly with like just over 10 minutes to go. But I mean, if it was early on in the race, I'd say it's not worth the hassle. There's no point letting someone who's in a lower class than you but just going a bit faster than you just to let you through. But with 10 minutes to go, sometimes, and it's a legitimate strategy, is you can use a guy in a lower class as like a buffer. Because one thing you will notice is that is the pink, white and blue car of Jordan Daly just outside your screen, just about making his way into the picture. So you'd probably be, if that was Azure Goat, I'd be looking at that and just going, no, you're just going to stay behind me, Chief. I want to use you as a little buffer, as Pimlott there, trying to make his way past. I mean, it's also quite frustrating from Pimlott's point of view, because he's probably looking there going, you can see Rudy Feldmater just in front of Goat. He's only 4.5 seconds behind Goat. Or ahead of Goat, beg your pardon. So Pimlott's probably looking at this going, now I want to get past because I fancy myself a race win in my class. So there's a fair few dynamics here, as I think, looking at the track, we're probably not that far away from a dry track, I'd say.
Yeah, it looks like it's dried up massively, and I think, looking at it, I didn't notice Daly kind of creeping in a little bit. That's a really good observation there, Phil. And Daly really kind of bringing themselves in the pictures. We're riding on board with them now, coming down Mineshaft, and the longer that these guys fight, the quicker it'll be until Daly is on the rear of Pimlott. So, in the closing stages of this race, that's a lot of stress for you to think about. You got to think about the big picture as a whole. And having that car buffer, it personally is, I think, what I would do, Phil. But yeah, no, if you're Daly as well, it's also going to be motivating to just try to pull up ahead, use the BMW's advantage, especially down the straight here. Look at the gap they've just made up already. They're on maximum attack right now, and I don't blame them, because with the track drying up, you've got the grip, you don't have the disadvantage of having the cars ahead of you. And looking at who's coming out of the pits now, that is Dauber, I believe, in that neon yellow, green Porsche. Yeah. Straddling the line a little bit coming out there. That was maybe, some people say it's maybe a touch naughty, but, they will make it ahead of Azure. And looking at where they come out, Boardman hasn't actually stopped yet. So will Dauber get Dauber, I'm guessing, wouldn't have changed tyres at this point.
You wouldn't change tyres this late into the race. I mean, one thing to point out is when you go for pit stops, if you can be really clever and quite big brain, is you can look at the track map and see roughly where you're going to come out and then just judge whether you're going to have traffic in front of you. That's one of the risks, obviously, and I think Dorber's played that just right because he managed to get ahead of the of Goat, certainly, and I think that was a Maserati of Sarah Stant he managed to get past through the back straight. As we see, Daly's just gotten past Pimlock through the S's there, so now it's going to be a fight for position for Daly. I think he's just given him a bit of a thanks. I think Pimlock saw him coming, but yeah, I think Pimlock may be using, because that's another strategy some people elect to use if you're in a lower class. If you see stuck behind a higher class car that's slower than you, but there is a higher class car that's faster than you just coming behind, one thing you can do if you're clever is let them through and use them as a means to get past. As we see Pimlock there, maybe I'm thinking a bit too nice and thinking drivers are being a bit too like hand-in-hand cooperation, but the idea I thought I had, Austin, was he used Daly as not a battering ram, but when Daly makes the move on Goat, you just follow Daly through, and you know, because you're already like, because a Goat can't turn in anymore because there'll be a BMW to his inside line, and if Pimlock's close enough, he can stay with Daly through the overtake. As we see, I think that's who's that just behind? Oh my goodness me, who's this?
No, that's Boardman. I think Boardman either. I'm not sure if Boardman
66.
has. I don't know if Boardman has stopped yet.
That's McDonald. That is.
Oh no, it's McDonald. Oh, you're right. Very similar car with the purple. Yeah, no. I mean, I was going to say the Aston was just given the BMW friendly exam of some variety that we're not really allowed to go into too much detail on a family show. But no, Diddley breaking very late. Looking on board from Raphael Hill, just basically blocked in by these two, just going at it for position. Obviously, you don't want to get too involved or get involved at all in terms of an incident. That's Daly going wide on the outside of the track. Will make the move on the outside of Azure, going through. I believe that's Clubhouse there, and will make that stick going down into the Evans.
I've only just noticed as well. Just look who's behind Huel, right up his chuck there.
That's Yeo.
So
no!
Commentators, curves. We just mentioned that they're right next to each other and just hit each other.
Yeah, that is just it. I mean, going up into the break zone, got a little bit kind of sidetracked there a little bit, and going into the back of Huel. Huel will keep the position though, and actually get a bit more of a gap, you know. But at the same time, how long will that last? We've seen you make a mistake around here in qualifying as well, looping it down at the. So Dorber coming across the line now, but Boardman has their mandatory stop.
He's just behind him.
Off. So I think Dorber, from what Christian has just said, Boardman just coming out of pits now. So as Christian has just actually told us in our ears, that is the lead of the race changing with just 5 minutes left remaining. That is Dorber back in the lead, and Boardman with all of that time to make up once again. According to the Delta, according to what we're looking at, what you guys can see too, that's 2.873 seconds behind Dorber. Oh wait, no, it hasn't updated yet. That's 1.678 seconds behind Dorber. It's just still a considerable margin to make up with so little time remaining, and Boardman right now will be relying on traffic to try to make up the bulk of that time.
Yeah, indeed. We just see I think that's Skrillex in the Chevrolet just between them. Yeah, that is the 200 of Skrillex there. But he's probably not going to get in the way of either of them. Probably just checking Boardman's exit there. Looked a bit close, but fairly comfortable for the pair of them. I think it's all about anticipation sometimes, because certainly with GT3 cars and to an extent these Cup cars, the best way to overtake these GT4s is just through the exit of these corners. You get so much more torque than these GT4s, and you do notice it through corner exit particularly. But yeah, so it's only 1.2 seconds now between Boardman and Dorber, so we're going to catch up with that in a bit as we see Pimlock and Go, these two back into it now, as I think Pimlock's losing time now behind Go, trying to catch up with Fullmeter. But again, this isn't for position, as we've mentioned before when these two were quite close to each other. Goat in the Silver Class GT4 and Pimlock in the AM Class GT4, so even if Pimlock does get past, Goat's not going to have any points loss or anything like that, and Pimlock overtaking wouldn't really gain anything either. So it's all for pride and it's all for fun at this point, I guess. So
That's it. I mean, second place in class as well in the first race of the season is, you know, I said earlier that it doesn't really matter where you come because other people have good and bad races and maybe won't even show up further on down the line because people do have like real life commitments and whatnot. So ultimately, the first race doesn't matter too much. It's kind of a nice way to sort of just feel your way into the championship, get a feel for the car, get a feel for what the format's going to be, and just take it a little bit easy. But at the same time, getting a good result and starting the season off strong is always such a huge help. And Pimlott will be, no doubt, quite happy with that performance, especially, you know, kind of qualifying incredibly well, you know, ahead of some of the silver classes, some of the pro GT4 class. That's Matt leaving the pits too. Or is it leaving or going in?
He's going in. He's going in.
That's finally the box with the last minute of the pit window open, so leaving it till the very, very last second, and now it's up to Verstappen to make up that time.
Miles away.
Yeah.
So anti-climax there. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I believed. Yeah, we gotta have some belief going, but yeah. I mean, but still, given the race that Verstappen's had, you know, the contact in the opening stages, and actually kind of with the finishing position of what they're in now, you know, being able to pull it back onto a class podium, that's a hell. I'm not going to say it. I've said it before. It's a hell of a drive from Verstappen to pull that kind of that stint back. Tom Watts as well, once again chasing up the back of one of the other cars. That's the number 5 Audi of Forster, and a little bit far out now, but only a minute and a half left of this race. So, you know, this is for the podium too. Like this is for the podium of this class in the GT4 class. So, yeah, this is actually a huge position for Tom Watts. If Tom can actually pull this in and actually pull this off, then, you know, securing a podium on the first race of the season is going to be huge.
Indeed, you can build off a good result, I'd say. As I think
those
cheese breaks now, Audi there, just about going back into play. As Tom Watts there, a bit of a, you know, talk about anti-climaxes in these last couple of laps. But yeah, that's another one for you. But yeah, I was going to say we just I think Dorber's just coming around the top of the hairpin now, coming down the mine shaft. So I'd say we're probably going to have another lap because I think unless I don't think Dorber's going to be able to hold back 10 seconds to finish this race, as we see Forster now using some of that Audi straight line speed. I don't think he's going to take
there we go. I was actually going to say, with the amount of drivers we've cursed in this stream so far, I mean, guys, is there anyone that you're kind of rooting for? Because hell, we have superpowers apparently. We can.
Yeah, let's curse Mike.
There's Redford.
I was going to say Mike Redford. Let's have Mike Redford. He needs a break at some point in his RCI career.
Oh, and to be fair, we're not really helping them by spectating. That was very close to running into the back of Forster there. And a little bit scary, a little bit touch and go there.
Oh my goodness me!
Who is that? That's
a Razor.
A Razor, and oh wow! I mean, that Porsche just squeezing its way on through. Yeah, I mean, it's hustling. It's getting through there. I believe that's what the Porsche there. I believe that's Brokima, right? The 23, the silver and blue car. Yeah, that's hustling its way through.
I mean, I was going to make the point, like, it's a bit awkward when you're a high-class car and you're coming across, like, a fightful position in a lower class. And you're like, oh, don't mind me. But yeah, it's a bit awkward there. But everyone did really well through there, must admit, not to cause an incident. But, yeah, probably just a bit more patience probably required as Forster, just seen on my overscreen, Forster nearly cheese braked into the back of Watts there. But yeah, as we see Joe Dorber now coming around coming down some mine shafts. It's been a pretty impressive race from Dorber, I must admit, fighting Andy Boardman all the way. Didn't lose his head when he had the lead taken off him. But yeah, he sat down and done well. And now we see as we move back, no end of action here. As Mike Redford now trying to get around Forster. Don't think he's made it there. Mounting a bit of the curb, but
There we go. So with all the race drama going on in the last laps, that is Dauber will take the checkered flag. The 777 Porsche swapping positions with Bob pretty much the entire way through. Raphael Hill. Oh wait, taking a moment to process that. That was McDonald nudging Raphael Hill in the last corner of the last lap to take P3. If I was Hill, I would probably try contesting that. But from what it seems from us here in the stewards box, that's going to be infuriating. That's just the podium taken away, and well, that's frustrating. I mean, I'm saying that with a smile at the moment, but I can guarantee Raphael will not be smiling at that. Bart Mathieu coming around the Asses now, coming into the hairpin, and yeah, the cars around are finishing, so that will confirm Bart Mathieu as the race winner of the GT4 class in the Pro Split, and the race winner of the AM class of the GT4 will be Phil Malta as well, and that has been locked in and confirmed. Mike Redford still chasing down Forster, going down into the Crocodiles, but again, it's very hard to make a move through cheer. That's the Maserati once again with the front end all crumpled in. It's gone through. I believe that is Vanderwood, right? So that car has gone through the walls.
Stan, I think Vanderwood's is a yellow one.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right, Phil. So that is Stan. Had a hell of a race, but Mike Redford will be coming in behind Forster and not able to take that position from them, and that pretty much consolidates the order for the most part. I mean, they've got Bart Mathieu coming around the final turn now, and that will confirm them as the GT4 Pro Class winner. So there we go. That's the last car across the line, and that's been a bit of a race. And yeah, I mean, obviously, Phil, I'll get to your thoughts in just a moment. Obviously, we have the usual things to kind of run through in just a sec. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a bit of a long race, Phil, right?
Been a very long race indeed. It felt like it went a bit quick after the halfway point, I must admit. But yeah, some. I think for a first race, we tend to find a lot of incidents in the first race, but it's not been as bad as I thought it was going to be for a first multi-class round of a championship. Some pretty impressive driving, some very good racecraft, I must admit, in places, and very minimal amounts of incidents. But yeah, very impressive drive from Dauber to win in Cup class, and from Bart Mathieu to win in GT4, and Phil Malta to win in the AM GT4 class. So yeah, some very calm driving from everyone there.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Dauber completely dominant throughout. But a few things I just want to say to you guys. I would say, first of all, thank you for joining us. I mean, it's been a bit of a put together thing, but I've had fun. Hope you guys have had fun in the chat. And well, if you want to rerun the fun, we do have Night Owl coming up tomorrow. We do have Night Owl coming up tomorrow, as well as the Deutschland Masters coming up. I believe, when is the Deutschland?
The Monday champ.
Yeah, that is the Monday Championship. That's coming up this Monday, as well as the Friday, obviously, with the Friday Championship starting up tomorrow as well. So sorry, I made a mistake. Night Owl is, in fact, on the Saturday, and tomorrow we have the Friday Championship. So that is all to look forward to as well. So if you guys haven't already, subscribe, like, and hit the bell. It means you don't miss anything here from RCI. And a big thank you to our partners as well, AK Informatica. They provide our service so we can keep bringing you content like this. Driver61.com. You can get up to 25% off your driver coaching by using our discount code, and the link to that will be in the description by going to driver61.com. Fanatec is your one-stop shop for best sim racing equipment, and you can use our affiliate link in the description, and it won't cost you anything, but it helps us with things like our server costs. They're our partners as well. So I mean, yeah, it's been a race, Phil. I mean, standout driver for me, I think, has to be Verstappen. I mean, coming back from that kind of drive is a huge thing. So Phil, I just want to ask, do you have any closing thoughts?
I just want to echo that point, really. I mean, Verstappen shown he's probably shown the driver of quality that he is through that recovery drive. Very impressive P2 to finish, and full credit to Dauber and Boardman. even though there was a bit of a argy-bargy move, probably racing incident as we discussed before. But yeah, very impressive from those two as well. Kept it clean for a majority of the race and kept each other honest as well. So full credit to those two as well.
Indeed, and I think with that it kind of draws our day to a close a little bit. I mean, it's been tiring, it's been long, it's been fun, and again, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone tonight who's joined us, and we'll see you all again for the next one. Next race is obviously next week, and well, same time, same place, and same broadcast team. So, thank you, and well, good night.